It was a quiet spring day in 1922 when the gruesome discovery was made on the farm in Hinterkaifeck, a small village in Bavaria, Germany. A family of 6 had been brutally murdered, their bodies left to rot in the barn. The villagers were shocked and terrified by the heinous crime, and the case quickly became one of the most notorious unsolved murders in German history. The family that was killed on that fateful day included Andreas Gruber, his wife Casilia, their daughter Victoria, and Victoria's 2 children, Casilia and Joseph. They lived on the farm with their maid, Maria Baumgartner. The family was well known in the village, but they were also known to be reclusive and unsociable. They rarely attended church, and they kept to themselves. On the day of the murders, Andreas Gruber had gone to the village to run some errands. When he returned, he noticed that someone had tampered with the lock on the front door of the farmhouse. He also noticed footprints in the snow leading to the barn. He told his wife and daughter about the strange occurrence, but they dismissed it, assuming that it was just a harmless prank. The next morning, the maid, Maria Baumgartner, failed to show up for work. Andreas Gruber sent his young granddaughter to the village to fetch her. When the girl arrived at the maid's home, she found it empty. Maria's bed had not been slept in, and her belongings were still there. The family began to worry, and Andreas went to the village to report her missing. Later that day, neighbors became concerned when they hadn't seen any activity on the farm. They went to investigate and made the horrifying discovery. The bodies of the entire family, including the maid, were found in the barn. They had been brutally beaten to death with a mattock, a type of pickaxe. The killer had also used a blunt object to crush the skulls of the victims. The police were immediately called to the scene, and an investigation began. However, it quickly became clear that the case was going to be extremely difficult to solve. There were no witnesses, no suspects, and no apparent motive for the murders. The police searched the farmhouse and the surrounding area for clues, but they found nothing of significance. It was as if the killer had vanished into thin air. The villagers were terrified by the murders, and rumors began to circulate about who the killer could be. Some suspected that it was a local, while others believed that it was a stranger passing through the village. The police questioned numerous suspects, including the family's former gardener, who had been fired a few months earlier. However, none of the suspects could be definitively linked to the crime. The investigation into the Hinterkaifeck murders continued for years, but it ultimately proved to be a fruitless endeavor. The case remains unsolved to this day, and it has become one of the most infamous unsolved murder cases in German history. Over the years, numerous theories have been put forward about who the killer could be. Some have speculated that it was a family member who was driven to commit the murders due to a family feud. Others have suggested that it was a serial killer who was passing through the area. Still, others believe that the killer was a stranger who had a personal vendetta against the family. Despite the numerous theories and speculations, the killer was never identified, and the Hinterkaifeck murders remain a mystery to this day. The farm where the murders took place has long since been demolished, and the site is now a memorial to the victims.